Gentlemen, to the World of Wrestling podcast here today to discuss about WWE Smackdown from April 4th, 2025 review. The show is fairly decent, entertaining, and full of a lot of excitement from this crowd, I would say, from Chicago. I enjoyed it for what it was. The wrestling wasn't all the important stuff to me watching this episode of SmackDown. It was more along the lines like the storylines that they were trying to tell and so forth. The favor that was supposed to be announced that night and so forth, which was more important to me. Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman's last man standing match was exciting, entertaining, and was a lot of fun to watch. That was one of the best matches on the card for Friday Night SmackDown that I enjoyed. But other than that, the show is average, I would say, but the crowd made it very entertaining. So we kickstarted the show. Back in the arena, we cut to Wade and Joe Tessitore, who welcome everyone to the show, and we cut to highlights of last week's main event contract signing involving CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. Make it back to the arena. Punk makes his way to the ring and he stands in the ring with the fans chanting his name, and he begins by telling them that he doesn't know where to begin, but they told him that the best television audience were overseas. Punk says, but he knew they were coming to Chicago, and that gets an ovation from the crowd. Punk grabs the camera from Rico, the cameraman, and he begins shooting the crowd, and a loud CM Punk chant breaks out. He tells them that's why they don't listen to outside voices. He says a little fact is that he is not supposed to be here. He was born in Silver Cross Hospital with an umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, and he was born blue, and they had to bring him back to life. And every time he comes out, no matter the city, he aims to make new fans. But to excuse him tonight because his aim is to thank the 16,000 fans in attendance for Chicago's event that night. Punk says when they tell him he's not supposed to be here, he asks who's going to get him to leave. He says nothing has changed, but he is in the main event of WrestleMania. A loud "You deserve it" chant from the crowd. Punk asks if he deserves it. He says he has earned it. He studied in the backyards of Chicago. He trained and he signed a contract with the WWE, and they said he wasn't supposed to be here either. To him, that's when the hard work began, and he appreciates people congratulating him. He says now the hard work begins. He is a product of Chicago. He has to thank everyone, and thanks his wife, April. An AJ Lee chant breaks out. He smiles and goes on to thank his dog, Larry. That gets a Larry chant as well. And he says there are too many people to thank, and he would not be who he is or where he is without this city. He thanks them and says now the hard work begins because he has a date at WrestleMania. And he promises that he's going to whip Seth's ass, and he's going to put a beating on the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, at the main event of WrestleMania. We hear Paul Heyman saying, "Ladies and gentlemen." He walks down the ring introducing himself. He apologizes for being late, and he calls CM Punk his best friend in the world. The best in the world. Heyman gets in the ring, and the fans chant ECW. Heyman says to ask what your wise man can do for you. He tells Punk that he belongs here in the ring in Chicago, and in the main event of WrestleMania. Heyman says the last time they were standing in the ring, the bloodline was breathing down his neck. And the next week, they put him through a table after that. Punk had a Hell in a Cell match with Drew McIntyre, and Punk was contemplating never to come back. But Heyman pleaded with him and told him he needs someone at War Games for Roman Reigns and to do him a favor. And Punk did that, and he saved him the match and the bloodline. Heyman thanks him and tells him that he has one more favor to ask him. Punk is surprised and asks him what it is. Like, we're asking for favors. You already owe me a favor. You're just building up more favors for me to do. And he tells Punk to tell him what the favor he owes him is because Roman will be here and he is already pissed off and he doesn't know what happens with Roman gets angry. I don't know what the fuck this writer wrote, but whatever. Punk asks him if Roman is not there, and Heyman says not yet. Punk says as much as he thinks the favor is none of Roman's business, it will affect him and that is why he will tell Heyman what the favor is when Roman arrives and he will tell them both. Punk drops the microphone and leaves the ring with his song playing. And that's that. Next, we have Rey Fenix facing Nathan Frazier one-on-one in a very decent one-on-one match with a few botches here and there that took place. But other than that, the match was entertaining as fuck. Good match by Rey Fenix. Good opener to start things off wrestling-wise. Brian Saxton gets in the ring after the match is over, and he interviews Rey after the match. Rey speaks in Spanish, thanking Chicago. He says he has a lot of history in Chicago with everyone. Tonight is not the debut of Rey Fenix. Tonight is so much more. Tonight he is rewarded with love, passion, and with rage. He waited his whole life to say this. I am a WWE animal. Okay. We cut to Legado del Fantasma, and Santos Escobar tells them that this is a great debut and the kind of performance he expects from Angel Humberto. They look at him in disagreement. Escobar tells him tells them he likes their fire and says he will speak to Nick Aldis to have a match. Rey Fenix against Berto, and Santos walks away. Well, we all know that Berto is going to be the one eating the L there. A video of Drew McIntyre airs. He's wearing an eye patch talking about Damian Priest, and no one cares about him unless he's feeding off Drew's scraps. He asks Damian to explain to him why he is wrong and to fight him like a man. But Damian did what he always does. He attacked like a vulture. He put him through a windshield. He can live through his back hurting while flying across Atlantic. He says he needs to pray, and when Drew prays, bad things happens. Brian Saxton is backstage with Braun Strowman, and Strowman says he has enough of Jacob Fatu getting involved in his business. Tonight he will keep him down and go to WrestleMania and complete his Grand Slam. In comes Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga, and in comes LA Knight, who tells Braun not to waste his time with Solo and for Braun to keep his eyes on the prize. Solo tells him he has a lot of balls to come and speak to him like that. Tama Tonga tells LA Knight he should be worried about him tonight, and LA Knight tells him he will make a lot of noise tonight because he will be stomping him out. LA Knight begins to walk to the ring with his music playing. Next, we had LA Knight versus Tama Tonga. Obviously, LA Knight picks up the victory here. he's got to go looking strong going into the WrestleMania in his match against Jacob Fatu, even though the match did not occur yet between the two of Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu. It's over. We cut back, and Paul Heyman is standing at the arena entrance, and in comes Brian Saxon. Heyman begins to speak to Brian, but stops. He grabs the camera and says that no matter what the favor is, his answer is yes. As he is speaking, a car is shown arriving to the arena. He tells CM Punk, anything you want. The answer is yes. Heyman yells, my tribal chief has arrived in Chicago, but out comes Seth Rollins. He tells Heyman to cheer up and that he was probably expecting the other Shield guy. He tells Heyman he looks awful. He says he has had a great week once he got away from this CM Punk stuff. He was able to gain some perspective and formulate a plan. He tells Heyman that this favor thing, he really dug himself into a hole. But it affects him too, and that when Roman does arrive, to let him know because he wants to be present to hear what the favor is too, and he walks away. Seth Rollins is being a conniving little fucker, I'll tell you. I honestly think he might be the guy winning this match, unfortunately. And I placed a bet on an offshore betting website that allows you to bet on wrestling for CM Punk, and he was an underdog. Now he's a favorite going into this match by a minus 300. I got him at a plus 240. I hope he does win for CM Punk, because I really think after all these major matches he's had, I mean, the Royal Rumble, the Elimination Chamber, now WrestleMania, he's going to have 3 pay-per-view major matches and he's going to lose? I don't know, man. I mean, it's believable that Seth Rollins should win this match based on everything. Sorry, I almost sneezed. It's believable that he, should win based on everything that occurred between Friday and last night. But to be quite frank with you guys, I don't see CM Punk really losing this match. It looks like it's designed for Seth Rollins to win, but for Punk to lose 3 major matches in a row, the Royal Rumble match, the Elimination Chamber, and then the main event he finally got because of a fucking favor and he loses? That just seems a little fucking retarded. Just my thoughts overall. Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte Flair came out. They cut a promo that really wasn't all that great. So Wade asked Charlotte why she chose Tiffany for WrestleMania and if she still thinks this was the wise choice. Flair says Tiffany was begging, and there she was. The fans boo Flair as she continues her promo. She says she did make the right choice because she wanted to make the smartest wrestling fans in the world here in Chicago. That there is no comparison. Stratton asks her if she is done. She tells Flair that her biggest competitor has been the fans, and no matter what, that is the battle Flair will never win. She likes to pretend like nothing bothers her, but she goes on crying on some boo-hoo talk show, and she can break all the records, but when it is all said and done, she will still come second to her father, Ric Flair, and at WrestleMania, she will come second to her as well. Charlotte begins to speak, but the fans cut her off, and Stratton says that is power. Flair tells them to hold on. She tells Stratton she just repeated what her opponents of the last 10 years have said. As she talks, the boos get louder and Flair stops talking. Flair begins to speak again, and the fans boo. Tiffany asks her if the cat has got her tongue, and Flair asks the fans what they would like for her to say. Flair tells Tiffany she can have the last word. Tiffany tells her that at 25 years old, she was trying to be a volleyball player and drinking in her daddy's basement. And at 25 years old, she's walking into WrestleMania as the WWE Women's Champion. Flair says this is just another match, but it looks like Tiffany got to her, and her WrestleMania record may be 4-3, but outside of the ring, she isn't the queen of shit. That was a good line. And Tiffany calls her a Nepo baby, and Flair says she's the Nepo queen. Tiffany tells her when she beats her at WrestleMania, she'll just be like she is outside of the ring, alone. Flair's record is 0-3, and she throws the microphone and leaves the ring, basically insulting her marriage situation with her record with holding men in a marriage. Flair asks if that's why Kaiser's in her DMs, and Tiffany leaves with her title in the air. Pretty fucking ridiculous to be throwing out their wrestlers' names that are on the roster. Couldn't she have just said your boyfriend being in my DMs, not actually mentioning the fucking name? That would have been a little bit smarter on their part. I think that was kind of ridiculous. We cut to Nick Aldis, who is backstage, and he says, and in conjunction with Adam Pearce, there will be a women's tag team gauntlet match. Winners will face Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez at WrestleMania. We get a number one contenders match with Motor City Machine Guns and DIY. Fair match, nothing special, but the Motor City Machine Guns walk away with the victory here, so they'll be facing the Street Profits at WrestleMania for the WWE Tag Team titles. After the match, Motor City Machine Guns are face-to-face with the Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits. We cut to Miz and Carmelo Hayes, who are backstage, and they stop in front of Pretty Deadly, and Miz calls them pretty useless. I agree with that. Hayes asks them if they are a tag team or the Chicago Bears. Ooh, nice shot there. Pretty Deadly says they have jokes. The Marine 3, 4, and 5. The Miz says at least the Marine was made and asks them how their musical is. Pretty Deadly says they just finished one about someone who has not been relevant in the last 10 years. They begin to argue, and they ask Hayes why he is happy to be relegated to being with the Miz. Hayes tells them that Pretty Deadly couldn't beat them on their best day. Okay, apparently we're going to have a match between those two. We get a match with B-Fab versus Naomi. Naomi picks up a victory, walks away victorious. After the match is over, she grabs a microphone after the match and asks Jade where she is at because she's still standing. She turns around and Jade gets in the ring, hitting her with a big boot, and she grabs Naomi, but in comes security to break it up, and Jade throws security out the ring. Out comes Nick Aldis, who says he has had enough of this, and there's only one solution. Aldis makes the match for WrestleMania, and both women smile and are happy with it. Next, we had a video package of Damian Priest. He tells Drew that he did his job by cashing in at WrestleMania, and Drew screwed himself. At Clash of the Castle, it should have been them, but his obsession with Punk came back and cost him the match. At Money in the Bank, he tried to cash in, but his baggage cost him. He tells Drew that at the Royal Rumble and Chamber, he eliminated him from both, but after that, Drew attacked him like a coward. He calls Drew a hypocrite because he bitches and complains. He tells Drew he is a junkie. He gets off on a high by making jokes every week. and tells Drew that he is his villain. His time to prey is now. To look for him in the middle of the ring, face to face, eye to eye, because he wants Drew to stop playing the victim and become his victim at WrestleMania. We cut to Kevin Owens walking backstage, and he's walking towards the ring. So we get Kevin Owens coming out, reporting his injury and what's his health situation, because it was reported earlier last week that he might not be able to make WrestleMania, so they made an announcement on what his situation is. Nick Aldis is in the middle of the ring, and he says this is part of his job that is not very fun. In this industry, there is a fine line between coming back next week and finding out that you may never step foot in the ring again. It is a cliche, but there is a reason why they say don't try this at home. He doesn't want to say much more because he'd rather we hear it from the man himself. He introduces Kevin Owens to the ring. Kevin Owens comes out wearing a Bret Hart jacket and looks dejected. He says he has been doing this for 25 years, and he thinks he can confidently say for the 25 years he gave everything he had. And because of this industry, he has been able to take care of his family in ways he can only dream of. But there is a price to pay for that amazing opportunity. That is the toll it is on their bodies. Every guy and every girl in the back has paid that price, and now it seems like it is his turn. Because for the last 4 months, he has been dealing with a pretty serious neck injury, but this week they figured it out, and now he has to get neck surgery. That's pretty crazy. Was wrestling at the Royal Rumble with a fucked up neck for the last 4 months. Well, actually, no, that might have occurred at the Royal Rumble, possibly. But even if it occurred before then, if he had that, he was having problems with his neck before the Royal Rumble, and doing that kind of shit, like that spot he had going through that chair, the ladder, and folding up like an accordion. I don't imagine that did any good for his neck. Just saying. So next thing is, and that is what he will do, and the timing could not be worse because not getting to be in the ring with Randy Orton at WrestleMania really sucks. He says he is really thankful for WWE to allow him to come out and say all of this because the truth is that he does not know when he'll be in front of them again. Owen says what he does now, Owen says what he does know is the last few years he has learned not to take anything for granted, and he will never take this for granted. The fans begin to clap, and he says for now he wants to say thank you, and he is sorry, and thank you. He shakes Nick Aldis' hand and drops the microphone. And then Randy Orton comes in, walks down. He looks confused. Owens is standing on the ring apron, and Orton walks up the ring steps, and onto the ring apron. Both men look at each other. Owens leaves the ring, and Orton gets in the ring. Owens stops at a fan who apparently said something to him, but the camera's cut to Orton, who is in the ring. Fans chant Randy, and Aldis tells him that he hates to be the one to tell him this, That means he no longer has a match for WrestleMania. Orton hits Aldis with an RKO. Music hits as he looks at WrestleMania sign. I honestly think that Randy Orton will be facing Nick Aldis. That would make a lot of sense to do that. Nick Aldis having a one-night match with Randy Orton, I think would be a classic. I don't think Nick Aldis has any major health issues, like bodily injuries or anything like that has kept him away from wrestling. They just put him in this manager role. I can imagine that they could utilize this in a way of saying, hey, you know what? You went ahead, you attacked me unprovoking. I did not provoke you in any way, and you attacked me, so now it's time to pay the price. And no, you're not going to pay a fine, you're not going to be suspended. You're going to get in the ring with me, and I'm going to beat your ass, and now you're going to have a WrestleMania match. That's what I do. But that's just me. Next, we had a last man standing match between Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman. Jacob Fatu obviously wins the match without question. Fairly decent matchup overall. On that, we had a highlight reel of John Cena's segment with Cody Rhodes. And then we cut to the garage and we see Paul Heyman standing in. Comes Brian Saxon, who asks him when Roman Reigns is going to arrive. And Heyman tells him any minute, and Brian walks away. Back from commercial, a black SUV pulls up to the arena. Out steps angry Roman Reigns, and he walks past Paul Heyman. Roman continues to walk towards the ring with Heyman behind him. Roman does not do his usual entrance. He keeps walking towards the ring. So, basically, he calls out CM Punk. He wants to know what the favor is, and so forth. Seth Rollins, I believe, is the one that comes out first. Yeah, Seth comes out. Seth gets in the ring with the fans singing a song. He introduces himself, and he tells Roman that he would not miss this one for the world. He says he does not know what the favor is, but the reality is that he has a feeling the reality of will knock Roman's socks off. Unlike everyone, Roman does not like to live in the real world. But every time Roman steps outside of his little universe, really bites him in the ass. Reality bites him in the ass. He tells Roman that he does not want to do a little history lesson, but example A, heist of the century, example B, the main event of WrestleMania last year. He tells Roman the reality is that Roman underestimates CM Punk and he thinks he is above Punk, that if he ignores him, he will go away. But he tried that and it doesn't work. Punk is in the main event of WrestleMania, and that is the reality he has to live with. He could have stopped it at War Games, but he didn't. He could have stopped it at the Garden, but he didn't. Seth tells Roman he is in a much better place this week than he was last week. And reality gives you you two options. Either you suffer and get left behind, or you adapt and you control reality. Roman tells him the reality is that Seth is untrustworthy. He can say the word loyalty, but Seth has no clue what that means. CM Punk stands there because Roman made a promise to the wise man and he keeps his word. And the reality is he didn't call Seth out here. He called for Punk to come out. The fans chant Roman, Roman reigns. Seth tells Roman that he is out here to hear from CM Punk, and Seth says there is only one thing missing, and it looks like, and looks at the entrance, and the fans chant CM Punk, and Seth says to find out what the favor is. So Punk's music hits. Punk goes ahead and he explains to the tribal chief what the situation is and what the deal is. Paul Heyman took an interest in CM Punk when no one else did back in the old days. He said that one day when CM Punk makes it to WrestleMania in the main event, he will be the guy that goes with him into the match in his corner. this is actually legit. On Raw, they actually played the clip of when this was stated. It was in 2013, a year before Punk left WWE for 10 years. And the people that run WWE at that time wouldn't allow it to happen. But now that that is all said and done, Punk is now a main eventer in the main event of night one, of course. But he says that is the favor. He wants Paul Heyman in his corner against the two opponents of Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. That's the favor, folks. There's some of it that could be good, some of it could be bad. We could be looking at CM Punk still winning this match because there's a way of doing this. We could see Paul Heyman go back on his word about the tribal chief and say to hell with the tribal chief. He's sure as hell ain't gonna like Seth Rollins because what he did this past Monday, yesterday, with Seth Rollins, with Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins yesterday. I don't think Paul Heyman would be at all inclined to want to do anything with Seth Rollins. But I'll get into that in the Raw review in just a little bit after I upload this video. So Roman looks at Paul Heyman and says, come on, man. Let him down easy. And just tell him no. You're my wise man. You're in my corner. Just tell him no. And let him down easy. Paul grabs the microphone. He's very hesitant. He's got tears kind of drizzling down his cheeks. And he's like not wanting to say no to Roman Reigns, but had to anyway. He said, I can't do that, my tribal chief. I have to be in CM Punk's corner. This angered Roman Reigns quite a bit. He got on Paul Heyman's, I think he grabbed Paul Heyman's suit, grabbed him by the collar of his shirt, and was angry with him. And then Punk just grabbed Roman Reigns and GTS'd him straight to hell. Paul Heyman was screaming his full head off. Seth Rollins was smart. He just got out of the ring and was like, I'm not going to be a part of this nonsense. I got a WrestleMania match. I want to win it. I'm going to be the smart one and just walk away. I'll be able to get these two fuckers in the match at WrestleMania. I don't need to go ahead and endanger myself and risk anything. So he just walked out of that ring and the whole situation. He was laughing the entire time while this was taking place. And Roman Reigns was knocked out, laid on the mat. Paul Heyman in the background by the camera view, with CM Punk going ahead and just doing his signature I put you to sleep with his hands together like as if it's a pillow and he's putting his head on top of it as if he put his opponent to sleep. And that's how the show ended. I thought it was good. I really did. I liked the ending of the show. Very solid, entertaining content. Some decent matches here and there. I mean, overall, it was okay, I think. And very passable. Definitely. So, that was pretty much this entire show in a nutshell. And I think they did a fantastic job being able to explain everything with the CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. I think the favor does make sense. I mean, I would have rather seen some sort of number one contenders match or something, but it makes sense based off of what was stated back in 2013. And it leaves a whole nother wrinkle in the story. And people are, people think that Seth Rollins is winning the match. I don't think so. Because CM Punk hasn't won shit. Both of the the Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber, him to main event WrestleMania and also lose that match too and go 0-3 is, I think, is unrealistic. It's not something I could imagine happening. I think that's outrageous. He needs a W of some sort. But it is what it is, guys. We'll see how things go in this triple threat match. Should be entertaining. So if you enjoyed this video, though, go ahead, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. And leave a comment down below. I'll definitely get back to you on that. Thank you guys very much for watching. Have a great night, and I'll speak to you again soon for Monday Night Raw Review.